Tony Hale plays literally the last man on social media on Film Threat Reviews. Hi, I'm Alan Ning. I was Zorianna Kit, and hey, help us support independent films by clicking that like button there. And today we're going to talk about EAT Wheaties. Sid Straw, his life unravels as he tries to prove that he was once friends with a celebrity in college. Directed by Scott Abramovitch, stars Tony Hale, Elisha Cuthbert, Alan Tudyk, and Sarah Chalke. So this is a nerd story. I always have an issue with nerd stories from the beginning, just because they're very low energy, very awkward, uncomfortable, and that's certainly this character here. But for me, I kind of warmed up near the end. What did you think of EAT Wheaties?
You warmed up to the character near the end?
No, I would say a third of the way in.
Okay. Well, first of all, if you are a fan of Tony Hale, whether it was on Arrested Development or on Veep, I think you would really enjoy this movie because he plays a variation of that type of character, that socially awkward. It's kind of like Michael Scott in The Office, minus Michael So it's got that, cringe awkwardness where he's trying too hard all the time, and he doesn't understand how his actions have a greater effect around him. He's not aware. So that character is entertaining. The way Tony Hale plays him is entertaining. I so very much enjoyed that. I really enjoyed this movie because of that. I mean, I think maybe if somebody else played that, it may not have had the same effect, but he has that character down pat, and he can do it. And everyone in this movie, they all have smaller roles, but everyone in this movie is so fantastic. And they all play according to their capabilities. Like no one gives like revelatory performances like, oh my God, Sarah Chalke, I've never seen her do this. No, all the people that we see on screen, this is what they do, but they're the right people for it. And they're pretty damn good at that.
Yeah, this is a good example of character development. It's a fairly large cast. Tony Hale is the main star, but there's a lot of people in this movie, and each and every one of them has a certain personality, a distinct personality, and they all play a specific role in Tony Hale's story. And so that right there says something about the brilliance of the screenplay of EAT Wheaties, as well as giving actors the ability to create a character on their own that fits the need of that story.
Yeah.
And that definitely happens here. And if anything, it's a good it's a manual on how to write a comedy with characters.
Yeah. Well, I noticed that Tony Hale is an executive producer on this movie, so I'm not sure if maybe he had something to do with gathering people as well, because certainly, like, if I was an actor and Tony Hale called me, I'd be like, yeah, sure, whatever you want. By the way, my favorite character was Paul Walter Hauser, who played Richard Jewell in Clint Eastwood's Richard Jewell movie. But here he plays his lawyer, which is honestly, hands down, that was just a joy to watch. Yeah. But the lawyer character does have a wife that's just like in very tiny little scenes, doesn't have that much to do other than cheer and giggle a little bit and hold like identical twins in her hand and stuff, like a busy mom. But again, she also she is that character, and you instantly get her when you meet her. So the whole thing just works.
Yeah. Another thing about the Tony Hale is how specific his character is. He's a guy who's good-natured, friendly, easy to get along with, except everybody hates him because he's friendly, good-natured, and so he lives in this world where he's good to other people, and therefore other people love him for that, which they don't. And so he's very oblivious to how people actually feel about him. And I think the whole story has to deal with this idea of one's actions, whether it's the heart of one's action versus the action itself. In this case, he went to college with Elizabeth Banks. They were in an improv troupe together, and he's planning the reunion, West Coast reunion of their school. And so he's trying to, having never been on social media, he connects with, he goes to Elizabeth Banks' Facebook page and starts posting, letters to her about how cool college was and whether she would come to the reunion. And it's all taken, so it's the heart of it. He's just trying to reach out to an old friend, but everyone else sees it as felony stalking.
Yes, exactly. And it ends up leading to a restraining order and a courtroom scene, which, by the way, that portion was a little preposterous because there's no way you can get
it doesn't work like that in America.
Yeah, exactly. And the other thing that also was a little bit preposterous is he is posting on Elizabeth Banks' Facebook
page.
But it's her official account, which of course isn't really her. And he keeps posting these public, almost like daily diary updates. And I find it hard to believe that no one, in a world where we have so many trolls and people like to comment all the time and put people down on the internet, you would think that somebody would write like, hey, that's not really her, dude, or why are you doing that? Or like it's like no one notifies him that this is not really her Facebook page.
Well, it has the blue check mark by her name, so it has to be her.
Listen, this movie's entertaining. It's not that long. I think it's like less than an hour and a half.
Yeah, we're just shy of the 90-minute mark. Yeah.
So honestly, if you enjoy Tony Hale in Arrested Development or Veep, or you enjoy the cringeworthiness of what The Office did, then it's just like watching an extended episode of those shows, like the very special episode of, and then you just get 80 some minutes of Tony Hale being the awkward character he always plays.
And then I would also say it reminds me, especially near the end, of Revenge of the Nerds, but without all the misogyny. There's a nice comeback story, and there's a good payoff, and it's just a very sweet story, and it's no Farrelly Brothers. It is somewhat awkward, but not Curb Your Enthusiasm awkward.
Yes, it's not.
Which I'm definitely promoting the technicals here. It's such a well-crafted story, good comedy, good cast, and just something that people are gonna miss. And I'm just saying, please don't miss it.
Yeah, it's just make the time to see it. It's one of those can't go wrong on a Friday night.
So clearly you liked it. You've been a fan of Tony Hale. This one didn't disappoint. So I'm gonna. So the question is, just how much did you like it? So I think I don't know that you were overwhelmed by the greatness of Tony Hale in this one. So I'm going to say a 7.5.
Actually, I'm going to give it an 8 because there's nothing so brilliant about this movie. There's no specific filmmaking style or something that that makes you just roll on the floor laughing. It's one of those where you sit down, you watch it, and you will feel like you had a well worth good time. You got the laughs that you needed. You were able to forget about whatever it is you needed to forget about for an hour and a half. I feel like you liked it as much as I did, but the fact that you gave it a 7.5 kind of worries me, because I would have thought for sure you would have given it an 8, and I feel like I'm being more enthusiastic about the movie than you are. So I'm worried that you maybe gave it a 7.
I give it a 7.5. It was good. I enjoyed it. I think, part of me was like, I am a big comedy fan. I do want to have laugh out loud, gut busting moments. As much as I love the movie, I didn't have that, which is fine. It was still an enjoyable story, good comedy. I would say that for anyone who wants to make an independent comedy, Eat Wheaties is a good baseline to say, here's how I should construct at a base my comedy, and you'll do really well. Look at the characters, look at the dialogue, look how everyone interacts with each other, and definitely look at the story and how that plays out, because it's fairly typical of these feel-good comedies where where the hero wins at the end.
Yes.
And the good baseline right here in Eat Wheaties. All right, so with that, be sure to like, subscribe, comment about what you thought of Eat Wheaties. Tell us about your fandom of Tony Hale. And with that, let's get out of here.